I just think that I think it's scary that like Donald Trump, it feels like for all of the accusations that are made sometimes against Democrats, like Biden is ordering Garland to investigate Donald Trump and blah, blah, blah. It seems like Donald Trump would actually do that with his DOJ, would give them orders.
He didn't.
So then the idea is essentially that Donald Trump's rhetoric is insane, but we don't care. Donald Trump would probably try to steal an election if he could, but he probably won't be able to.
He's not going to do it again. I told you. He's not.
You don't think he has any? Why not?
Because he won't be eligible to be on the ballot in. I mean, by the way, you want to talk about 14th Amendment? Mm-hmm. That's where the 14th Amendment applies. Okay, that's where it actually applies. Meaning you cannot. He is not qualified to be on the ballot in 2028 if he is the president of the United States. States can literally, in self-executing fashion, take him off the ballot, just like he's passed.
Okay, so in this one, Ben Shapiro was about to debate Destiny over on the Lex Fridman podcast. They both talk fast. Destiny appears to be smart, but Ben Shapiro is actually smart. So it should be a good one. I'm looking forward to it. I think we're going to enjoy it, and let's just get it started.
If we're looking at like principled stances of government, the idea that a man who has, and I think we both agree on this, that Donald Trump's only allegiance is to Donald Trump, right? We agree on that. The only thing he cares about is Donald Trump.
I don't think it's the only thing he cares about. I think it's certainly the largest thing he cares about.
It's the largest thing he cares about, right? Sure. So you've got a man who only cares about himself.
Welcome to politics. I mean, it may be more...
But that's not even...
It may be more with Trump, but it's certainly not unique to Trump.
I think that the issue with Trump, too, though, is I think he's even a threat to the Republican Party, in which I think you would mostly agree with me, maybe not overall, but on every individual point. Trump picks bad candidates. He has no concern for the future of the Republican Party. Like, for instance, I think there is a chance, I don't think it'll happen because of how the polling looks now, but if Trump didn't get the nomination, I think Trump would say, screw it and run as an independent because he thinks he can win or whatever, right?
I doubt that he would do that, but theoretically,
it's possible. Yeah.
I mean, again,
he was really content to throw Georgia, the two runoff elections under the bus because Raffensperger didn't support him for the election.
So,
stuff.
What is all of this in service of? What's the generalized argument that you're making? Do you believe? I'll go back to my question. Do you think that if Trump wins, there will be no more elections? Is that like what put a percentage on it? What percentage do you think that's a reality? That if Donald Trump
wins, I think there is a 100% chance that he will try to prevent the peaceful transfer of power. In terms of would he succeed?
I can guarantee you he will not do that.
What is Destiny talking about? He 100% guarantees. He didn't even leave like a 0.1 chance. It's 100% chance that Trump will prevent a peaceful transfer of power. So is he saying that he thinks that Trump is going to stay in beyond his 8 years? It's crazy. He already left the first time when he was supposed to. The fear-mongering left is so completely insane that they have zero recall, zero memory of what actually happened. They can judge Trump by his actions that he's already done in the past. It's so crazy. They think that Donald Trump, if he wins this election at 80 whatever years old, is going to try to stay in power until what? Until he dies? It just doesn't make any sense. I mean, you're talking about Donald Trump, the guy that in the 80s, 90s, and 2000s were asked by these liberal pundits every time he went on their show, are you going to run for president? And he would say, I don't really think I need to. I don't really want to. But if it gets so bad, maybe I will. And then it finally got so bad. And Barack Obama made that statement, at least I've been president. And Donald Trump was like, I accept the challenge. He ran on a Republican ticket and then everybody turned against him. So I don't think that Donald Trump has ever had aspirations to be a dictator, let alone a president. It was just finally in his later years that he's like, okay, fine, I'll do it. So why would Donald Trump, what about Donald Trump says to you or anybody that I'm going to completely rewrite the rules and stay president longer than anybody ever has been allowed in history and technically against the law? I mean, that doesn't make any sense. It's just fear-mongering from the left. Donald Trump didn't have to run the first time. He could have sat on a golf course, enjoyed his life, and been loved by everybody like he already was. But instead, he put it on the line. Not only that, while he was president, he created no new wars. He made an exit plan to get the troops out of Afghanistan. He arbitrated the Abraham Accords, that is something that my generation has longed for, peace in the Middle East. He donated his paycheck. He took a hit to his net worth. He took a hit to his popularity. And Donald Trump walked across a demilitarization zone in North Korea without his security details. So it's as simple as this question. Would you take $1 billion today if you wouldn't wake up tomorrow? The obvious answer is no, because without a future, what good is all the money in the world, right? And that's Donald Trump right there. So the concept that Donald Trump only thinks about himself, that Ben Shapiro and Destiny both agreed to at the beginning, is complete bullshit. Donald Trump ran for president not to better himself, it was to better the country. Plain and simple. You don't donate your presidential paychecks, you don't take a hit to your net worth, you don't put your life at risk walking into North Korea, and you don't continue pushing forward after being shot in the face like he was a month ago if you're just in it for yourself. If Donald Trump is number one to Donald Trump.
I can guarantee you he will not do that.
Why is that?
Because he's in his second term and he's no longer eligible, and he will believe he won and he will leave.
Yeah, but hasn't Donald Trump himself joked about running for a third term?
I
think that having a third term.
What has Donald Trump not joked about? I mean, for God's sake.
Okay, hold on.
If you want to prevent him from creating a revolution, you probably should actually just appoint him president, and then he can't run again.
Here's another broad argument that I don't like in favor of Trump, and this was brought up earlier in terms of like we talk about like not grading presidents on a curve, but then earlier we said we take Biden's rhetoric.
Oh no, I totally grade Trump. I 100% grade presidents on a curve. Are you kidding?
Oh, okay.
I grade pretty much everybody on a curve.
Then I feel like
I don't treat my 7-year-old the same way that I treat my 9-year-old.
Sure, but I don't like that.
Obama.
It feels like we're treating Donald Trump like a 7-year-old or a 9-year-old. I think we should treat him like the president of the United States. I don't think having a president that has taken like concrete steps to prevent the transfer of power, which he did with the electorate sham, which he did with Pence, and which he did with trying to capitalize on the J6 violence, a president that's taken concrete steps towards coupping the government, essentially. I don't know why that guy, we'd say, well, it's Trump, he does Trump things. The guardrails held, I'll probably hold next time.
So, let's throw him in. When we say we shouldn't, do you mean that he should be actually barred from office?
I'm just talking about support for him. I don't even think Republicans should support Trump. You lose your incumbent advantage. The guy's obviously self-destructive. He's destructive to the political party itself.
You think he should be on the ballot? You think there's a case to be made to remove him from the ballot?
I think there's a case to be made, but man, the phrasing, for as much as our governmental founding fathers and everybody else, wrote nice amendments and wrote nice the Constitution, some of the phrasing is very, very, very bleh. And the Section 3, the not requiring any type of actual conviction, I don't have a strong feeling on it. I will say I'm very interested in reading the majority opinion from the Supreme Court. I seriously doubt the Supreme Court is going to uphold that states should be able to decide if they leave him off the ballot or not. I think for the political future of the United States, it's probably not healthy that the leading opposition candidate is now going to be barred from the ballot. It's probably not healthy for us. Because then what?
You want to talk about threats to democracy? That would be a pretty serious one. Applied across the board, by the way.
It would be. However, like that threat to democracy was earned by Donald Trump and the conservatives that supported him. I think conservatives made a dangerous gamble when they threw Trump into office, and now like all of the fallout from that is something that we all as Americans have to deal with.
I mean, I think that the unprecedented legal theory that a state can simply bar somebody from the ballot on the basis of, in an informal way, believing that he is quote unquote an insurrectionist is pretty wild. I mean, we
can say it's pretty wild, but there is an amendment in the Constitution, the 14th Amendment, that says that if they have engaged in this, they shall not be, or you shall, I don't remember the phrasing because it doesn't require conviction, but it's a self-executing, arguably thing.
If we're getting into constitutional law, I mean, there are a number of provisions that suggest that this is, number one, not self-executing. I mean, minority opinions in the Colorado Supreme Court case are pretty thorough. The number one contention, which is that this is not self-executing because other elements are not self-executing, that ignores subsequent actual law that happened. I mean, the Congress passed a law, for example, in 1872 defining who was an insurrectionist, who was not an insurrectionist for purposes of elections. In 1994, Congress passed a law that specifically defined insurrection as a criminal activity so that somebody could theoretically be convicted of insurrection and therefore ineligible to run for office. It is unlike, say, the analogs that are used by the majority opinion, like age. Obviously, this is not the same thing. We can all tell what somebody's age is by looking at their birth certificate. I can't tell whether somebody's an insurrectionist without any reference to a legal statute or definition of the term.
I would also be careful with that because remember, one of Trump's first big political actions was challenging Obama's birth certificate.
Well, and I thought that was dumb at the time. But in any case,
I like that you both said 100% chance that Trump will try to go for third term and 0% chance, which statistically...
Third term, he's done, man. Are you kidding?
He would want to.
Trump's going to walk around, hands up high. He's going to be like, I'm a 2-term president. I'm the only president since Grover Cleveland. He wouldn't know. But since Grover Cleveland, who served 2 non-consecutive terms, I kicked Joe Biden out of office and I kicked Hillary Clinton out of office. Dude would be like, he'd be living large. Are you kidding? He doesn't want the presidency anymore after that.
And he would actually be the first president in history to defeat 3 opponents: Hillary Clinton, Joe Biden, and Kamala Harris. So let's go. Let's get it done.
I just think that I think it's scary that Donald Trump, it feels like for all of the accusations that are made sometimes against Democrats, like Biden is ordering Garland to investigate Donald Trump and blah, blah, blah. It seems like Donald Trump would actually do that with his DOJ, would give them orders.
He didn't. He didn't.
Well, he kind of did though, right? So for instance, with Jeffrey Clark went to Rosen and Donahue and said, hey, listen, I need you guys to sign off on a letter that we're going to use essentially to bully states into overturning their elections by saying we found significant election fraud. And part of that threat was Jeffrey Clark saying, listen, if you're not going to do it, Rosen, Trump's going to fire you and just make me the acting attorney general. That was the threat that he carried. And I think Trump repeated that threat in a meeting later on that was, I only rebuked when I think like half the White House staff said, if you do this, we're resigning.
Okay, so that's a slightly different topic because now you're getting into all the election shenanigans and all of this, but...
Sure, I'm just saying he threatened to fire his acting attorney general if he wouldn't carry the same platform, essentially. Like, if Trump could order his DOJ to do something, would he? It's not beyond the pale for him, right?
It's not beyond the pale for him to order them to do it, and then it's not beyond the pale for them to reject him doing that, which is the story of his entire administration. Whereas Joe Biden orders his DOJ to do things, and then they just do them.
Well, I'm not... We can get into the specifics there. This
is one of the big problems that I have with, for example, all the talk about Trump tyrant, Trump executive power. Joe Biden has used executive power in ways that far outstrip anything
every
that
president has been stretching executive power.
That's Joe Biden is going Joe Biden has gone well beyond anything Trump even remotely attempted to maintain via just pure executive power. And actually, Trump's use of executive power is nowhere near even what Obama's was.
Trump's inability to get border policy passed literally had him using executive power to march the military down to the border to do border policy.
Joe Biden literally used the Occupational Safety and Hazard Administration to try to cram down vax mandates on 80 million Americans. That's insane.
Sure,
he literally said, I cannot relieve student loan debt, and then tried to relieve hundreds of billions of dollars in student
loan debt. Yeah, but what
happened
happened to that?
It got struck down by the Supreme Court, and then they still did it. Biden brags about it.
For what he was able to relieve, which I think were related to particular types of student loan debt. But I'm just saying that the guardrails are holding with Biden as much as they're holding with Trump. The only difference is that once Biden exhausts his executive power, he's not running around lying to people or trying to extort people or trying to and concoct insane schemes.
Well, here's the way I would think of this. Think of the guardrails holding as the filter. Sure. Okay, meaning the coffee is in the filter. Some of it's what you want is going to get through, and all the stuff. The guardrails prevent the other stuff from getting through. Mm-hmm. Now the question becomes, what liquid are you pouring into the filter? Okay, meaning if the filter exists, if the guardrails hold, and if Donald Trump can't steal elections, what's the policy that comes through the other end of the filter? The policy I get from Donald Trump on the other end of the filter is a bunch of stuff that I like. The policy that I get from Joe Biden on the other end of the filter is a bunch of bullshit I don't. So that's the basic calculation.
Okay, so then the idea is essentially that Donald Trump's rhetoric is insane, but we don't care. Donald Trump would probably try to steal an election if he could, but he probably won't be able to.
He's not going to do it again. I told you. He's not.
You don't think he has any? Why not?
Because he won't be eligible to be on the ballot in. By the way, you want to talk about 14th Amendment? Mm-hmm. That's where the 14th Amendment applies. Okay, that's where it actually applies. Meaning you cannot. He is not qualified to be on the ballot in 2028 if he is the president of the United States. States can literally, in self-executing fashion, take him off the ballot, just like he's past the age of 35. Once you have been president 2 times, you're no longer eligible to be president of the United States. Then you actually have a strong little case to keep him off the ballot.
Why would the 14th Amendment stop him if he thought Vice President Pence could unilaterally decide the outcome of the election?
When he's not on the ballot? So now your theory is that he's going to get reelected, and then in 2028 he's not even going to be on the ballot, and he's going to direct his new vice president, Kerry Lake, to simply declare him president of the United States when he has not been on a ballot?
I don't know what the scheme would be. I think we can kind of laugh and say there's no scheme we could even concoct, but I think
Camacho, with the machine gun, he's going to walk into
I think the issue though is that the idea of electing another president that has tried to circumvent the peaceful transfer of power using extra legal means and then pretending we can't concoct a single scheme that he could try to circumvent other legal processes to have a third term or to have a longer term or to install who he wants as the next president. When a person has already shown you who they are, and when every single person around him agrees with that, when every single person that's worked with him, save for Sidney Powell, Eastman, and Giuliani, which I don't think anybody would want to throw their lot in with those 3. It just seems wild to me that we would say we're just going to go ahead and trust this guy with another term of president, but he can't run for a third term, so it's fine. When there's 50 million other things,
and I'll make you the case that if you want him not to make election trouble, you should elect him president in the next election cycle, and then he will be ineligible.
Okay. Well, I find that.
So there you have it. I really like this debate because when you consider the fact that Ben Shapiro said in the beginning that Donald Trump's main concern is Donald Trump, yet goes on to defend Donald Trump for the sake of the truth for the whole debate, is something that I can appreciate because it just shows that Ben Shapiro doesn't think that Donald Trump is the greatest thing on earth, but yet when Destiny says something that's completely out of line, it's completely conjecture, Ben Shapiro's look, we have a precedent. He was already president for 4 years. He left when he was supposed to. He didn't order the DOJ to go after his political opponents. He's not going to be able to run on 2028 if he wins in 2024 simply because it's against the law. All of your hypothetical fear-mongering nonsense is only that. And he used a nice, cool, calm, collected method of delivering that message, and I appreciate it. And even though Ben Shapiro is not really my favorite person, I don't like the way that he behaved during the COVID era and among some other things. But I do appreciate that he was a good representative for the truth and Donald Trump in this debate. And if you guys agree with that, make sure you hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. And I'll see you guys in the next video.